Tony, just exactly what is on your mind as far as this project?
Well, the genesis of it began as a memorial to my mother, Ella Mary Sims. She was a local stalwart in the community, activist, political activist, which all started from a platform of being a mother and going to the PTA. Nonetheless, she used to write an article. She was a published author on small stories, and she wrote a column here in Grand Rapids Press called "It Seems to Me." And in that vein, the absence of what I think is good, solid black man perspective on current events is absent from the public scene, at least on the level that you and I share. From a black man's perspective. And I just thought that our conversations and our perspectives are interesting enough to share, not just between you and I, but it's as universal as God himself, and that means it can be shared with the world.
To those people.
To those people, right? Okay, yeah. You'll have to help me with that.
Well, I imagine that it's interesting you should say that, because one of the things that I've noticed is there's an awful lot of news that you can find in articles and magazines, the newspaper, about what's going on, with different groups. But even in the Grand Rapids Press, there's stuff missing as far as young people are concerned. I'm talking about mainstream young people. I'm talking about white folks. I'm not talking about black people. But they have these stories about, somebody baking a cake and somebody hanging curtains and stuff like that, and somebody else celebrating this and that. It would be interesting if we had that in the black community. Now, there's a lot of stuff in the Grand Rapids Times that and wasn't your mother, wasn't Dr. Sims featured in the Grand Rapids Times from time to time?
She was. She was great friends with Pulliam and
Miss Pulliam, yes,
and the people that are part of that, as she was with so many people in our city. But yes,
And so, and they have a lot of they make a lot of comments about people's opinions on what's going on, and so I think it would be a good idea to have some commentary that brings some awareness of matters, how would you put it, from a black man's perspective.
Oh yeah.
That matter. Yeah. And the things that are going on right now.
Exactly.
And what it looks like.
Yeah.
Or as they said back in the 70s, what it looked like.
Yeah.
And so I agree. And what is one of the subjects that comes to mind for you?
And everything. One thing about it is that I found one of the most frustrating things about the black man's existence and our plight in the African American person's life is that, the white man is very clever in flipping the script. Now, so long he devalued what we came to our complaints. Oh, it ain't us, it's y'all. Pull yourself up by the bootstraps. Just to do some work. Quit being lazy, And so, for so long, for me, I wanted some acknowledgement from the powers that be. In fact, the white man himself, to acknowledge the fact of the truisms that we espouse every day, of the injustices and the effect of slavery and legalized racism has had on us as a people, and continues to have, because I think the reason it does is because until you own it, you can't fix it.
That's right. If you don't own and control, if you're not at the control point and you don't have access to the buttons and the levers, you're not gonna. You can't jack up a car with no jack.
Right.
And even if you got a jack, you can't jack it up without a handle.
Right.
And it's interesting that you should put it that way, because we have seen a lot of situations. Oh Lord, my mind is just, you got my mind exploding on going all the way back to 1970 with this stuff, because I'm 62 years old, so I've seen a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen the commercial about the insurance company? We know a little bit because we've seen a few things. Okay, bump it, bump, 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 right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, we don't want to mention their name on the video. I can cut all that out. But I can go bump it, bump, 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 bump. You know, cute. You know.
Yeah.
And Red Robin, yum. Okay, but anyway,
have it your way.
Yeah,
Whatever.
yeah. Oh, you deserve a break. You know, and when I get through with this, I'll have an uncoat.
I got you.
All right. No, you go back. I've seen them. They'll give us a handle, but we don't have no jack.
Yeah.
They'll give us a jack, but we open the package and it don't have a handle. Now, what do I mean by that? There was provisions that was made for blacks that were supposed to be supported programs, but there were pieces missing. You can't make the program work until you got that piece.
Yeah.
And the catch-22 is you got to do what it takes to get that piece, and that is a mother.
Especially when they contrive to take the piece.
When they got it set up so that you're gonna have to give up what you already got to get the piece. But once you got the pieces missing, you ain't got the strength left to pump the jack.
Yeah.
And you, when you said they're clever, that's exactly the cover. That's exactly the picture that I got. Here's another. Here's the main picture. The first one I got was the Small Business Administration. I heard Charles Adams preach on this in the late 70s, early 80s, and he was talking about the same thing. We got programs, but the programs got pieces missing. The Small Business Administration give a small business loan. First of all, you got to pay $1,000 for someone to write a proposal that can be acceptable to the board. Then, once they review it, you got to cut it 50%. So you trim it down, and then you got to drop 10% off of that. Then they'll give you that loan. And Charles Adams said that the small business loan will give you just enough money to fail. And that's what you mean when that's what I see you mean when you say clever, set up to fail. Because when you have help program or self-help program, it's a wonderful program on the surface. But if that major component is missing, or that what do you call it? The frame of it ain't right. The foundation, the whole thing, it don't work. And this is what we have been seeing in the black community. When the lottery system came in, they said they're going to give all this money to education, and we've seen more schools closing in the last 20 years than we had before the lottery. What happened to that system, Pastor?
You know, the thing is with the foundation, and that's sort of what I want to. I mean, there's nothing taboo that's off. I want us to tackle whatever something's hot right now. Take the whole presidency, Donald Trump. You know what I mean? I was just listening to a report yesterday how, you know, of course they've been talking for the whole week about how she has 1 million more votes. She won the popular vote. But the Electoral College, then I'll see the report talking about how the Electoral College came into being because of black people and their concentration in certain areas. So they wanted to be able to go by the area, not the populace, and to keep us devalued and unpowered.
What they taught us was that they wanted, they didn't want states that were overpopulated to have more votes than states that were sparsely populated. So they gave a different, they had a different ratio for each state. In other words, a huge state only has a few votes, and the little state has a lot of votes. And it works backwards because the concentration of civilization in the big states is not the same as the concentration on the East Coast. But if you look at it from a naive or an uninformed perspective, it does. Back in those days, those states didn't have many people in them, but all of the states on the East Coast were fully populated. So that's what they taught us. They didn't teach us that they gerrymandered because of black people. And this is what people think. But that's a moot question now, because what they want to do is they want to get rid of the Electoral College. But I heard somebody on television during this recent um, um, presidential election that you can't do away with the Electoral College because that would cause problems. And the problem is you'd have problems with the popular vote, because you'd have to wait until all the votes were counted before you could say anything. Whereas the way they got the system set up is whoever gets there first. And here's the problem I have with that.
I mean, I don't understand. What do you mean? Whoever gets to, what do you mean? The way they
Whoever, as they count the votes, as the results come in, whichever results come in that are higher for whichever candidate, he's the one that gets the votes.
There's a certain number you got to get to before you.
Well, yeah, you got to have a certain number of electoral votes. But here's the problem I have with that: what votes are you counting?
Well, that's what.
How fast are you counting the votes?
It ain't the number that counts.
You see,
it's all about how they've got it all configured. Mm-hmm. But anyway, in terms of I mean, if you want to talk about that topic right now, but
no,
the way I see it,
this is experimental.
Yeah, right. I just want to. Ain't no preconceived thing. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Unless during the course of a day mm-hmm. and be prior to us sitting down, mm-hmm. the Spirit is working on you on some subjects you want us to get up on. That's all right. Mm-hmm. But it's just preconceived in that way. But I don't have any direction except for me. Mm-hmm. Now, I have to qualify mm-hmm. this statement because I don't get on it, you know. Excuse me, these millennial and X generation, they mm-hmm. constantly watch. You know, I'm not that savvy on the internet. Mm-hmm. What I was about to say is I don't really hear my voice out there, but I ain't out there looking. Because maybe I would. Because when I first told you that, you started telling me about Red Bull.
Red Pill, Blue Pill,
or whatever.
Gregory, yeah.
The people who are out there.
Yeah, they are talking
maybe
about
I ain't hearing because I ain't that socially active. I need to get more active. But the absence of hearing me mm-hmm. has caused me to solicit you for us to get us.
Well, you are
out there.
You are a preacher, and so you're used to hearing you. Now, sorry about that. That's a joke. Sound like a joke, mm-hmm. but you're used to hearing you, and you're used to having people listen. Mm-hmm. I have always had a desire to get the word out, mm-hmm. and right now, for the last 20 years, what I've seen is the need for a clarion call. And we know what a clarion call is. As the sounder sounds the bugler, sounds the bugle to warn the people, and we're talking about the watchman on the wall. And one of the things, and so you wanting to hear certain things said is understandable. I understand there are things that need to be said that were not being said until just recently. Mm-hmm. Just recently, we're hearing stuff like, for instance, Red Pill says, you know, thank God for people like Dick Gregory, that old wisdom, that he's still there and he's still sharp. You know, even Minister Louis Farrakhan. And see here, we got to break down. Got to realize something. We had way too much emotionalism going on, mixed in with the ignorance. And the lack of willingness to learn of people. And so as soon as you say certain names, they don't even want to talk no more. You say Trump, people through talking. You say Louis Farrakhan, people through talking. The things that Louis Farrakhan is talking about now is astonishing. Because you wouldn't expect him to be talking about these things, but they need to be talked about because they affect black people. That's what he's talking about. He's talking about the fact that you cannot knock down a 110-story skyscraper with one airplane in 1 hour. He knows that's physically and architecturally and mathematically impossible. Okay? He may not know it the way some other people know it, but he's saying it to people and getting it on their minds. You got to understand that our government has lied to us and that there are dangerous elements in our government. The gangsters ain't all riding around in the hood in Cadillacs with no hubcaps dealing drugs. All the gangsters ain't drug dealers. They got the gangsters up in Capitol Hill, Washington, and in Lansing. Let's just put the show up on the show now. And that's one of the things that I like a project like this, There are people who are afraid to put the show enough on the show enough. But there's one thing you got to be careful. You got to make sure that you know what you're talking about. You got to make sure your information is right, because if not, they will rip you apart. And if you are correct, they want to know, where did you get it from?
Well, that's always the end game. And, you know, the rules of the game are as evident. The MO of the players of the game is as evident now as they were in the Garden of Eden.
Isn't that interesting?
Ain't nothing changing.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, it's very much the same. And I think one thing, that's what I want to talk about, all the different institutes that were, you know, we just got finished talking about the nature of a thing. We'll put it this way: the foundation of a thing determines the nature of a thing.
It's got to be.
And when we think about every institute in this country was based either on slavery itself or legalized prejudice and racism. Now, so if that's the nature of things, then we're going to talk about all those things that have that nature, and that's every, you know, like you just talked about, explained them, basically lying to us. That's why I have no confidence. Do I put any sanctity in any institution of this country to be truthful to me about me?
Do you know what?
Because they are institutes of liar learning, not higher learning.
Liar learning.
Institutes of liar learning. I'm tired. Okay. I don't want to hear that.
Yeah, and we've been being taught in them all of our lives. But do you know what your brother said?
To take Malcolm's word,
we've been bamboozled and hoodwinked. You know? Do you know what your brother said? You know what your brother Stephen said?
What he said?
Our institutions are wrong.
Yeah,
that's what he said.
Ain't no doubt.
He said our institutions are wrong. Do you know that the phone company is cheating people now? Can you believe it? The phone company.
Yeah.
I got crammed by the phone company as a senior citizen. You got to be kidding me.
Hey, look,
my grandmother, you know what, my grandmother's telephone bill used to be like $5 or $6 or $7 a month. She had a party line. It was one of the most reliable institutions the United States industrial complex ever had. Now it seems like everything is tainted. Everything's got something wrong with it. Everybody's pulling something somewhere for advantage. What can we do about it? If we educate ourselves, you can be as smart as you want, but if you don't have no access, what's that smart going to do for you? All it's going to do is bring the suffering more acute, because you'll be more aware of it. So the best thing I think to do is for people to have to take up responsibility. But how do they do that, Tom?
Well, there's so many dynamics at play. When you get into the effect of a dominant culture over a minority culture in systems, the power the dominant culture has in molding the activity of the lesser people and all the things, you know, that's involved, that has systemic racism on automatic pilot. Everybody can step back and say, it ain't me, I didn't do it. So yeah, I hear you, Doug. So that's what I want to do. All that you just said just rings so true, and we can hit on all that as we do. Me and you do. That's why we do it.
We can do that. We can do that. And do you know, that brings something else to mind. You talk about the people who are in control. Do you know that the richer and more powerful you are, the more you are responsible, and this is a spoof, the more you are responsible for the condition of mankind? And if you said that to some of them, they say, I'm not responsible for the condition of mankind. But you are, if you are rich and powerful, you are responsible for the condition of mankind, because you own and control everything. That's why, duh.
Well, it ain't like they don't know it. They just don't want us to act like we know it. and to think that they would willingly participate in something so blatantly inhumane and cruel and punishing as it is. But they don't care, man.
Well, in the middle, somewhere around the 70s, somewhere in the early late 70s, somewhere in the 80s or somewhere, the government started moving out of the watchdog business as far as employers are concerned. There was an agency like the Better Business Bureau, but it was a watchdog that made sure that the companies were doing what they were supposed to do. And that department became understaffed and underfunded, and it just became a little office somewhere with a couple of chairs in it. The Michigan referee that deals with employer-employee disputes. And when they did that, these employers were left free to do the kind of thing that was done to me. I worked for a trucking company, Churchill of Detroit, where the fellow was stealing the wages of all of the drivers at one time or another, and you had to personally be aware of all your numbers in order to know it. And it was ridiculous, and there was no agency you could go to. If you went to the Michigan referee, which some of the drivers did, it would take you 6 months to deal with this particular issue. But in the so if you had your money taken this week, you have to wait 6 months before you can get anything done about it. The system, what did Trump say? The system is rigged. It was rigged. So that this is what slowly eroded and brought down and brought down and brought down. I worked for another company. We were gone for 3 weeks. We come back. It's Christmas. We're supposed to get all our pay. They only paid us half of our pay. They didn't pay us the rest of it until after New Year's. That kind of stuff going on. And nobody nowhere to do anything about it. And the people couldn't do anything about it because they were just, minimum wage workers. And it was minimum wage on top of that.
Well, if there ever has been watchdog organizations, they ain't never been about crap no way. They ain't never been. All they do to watch us get beat is watch us get beat and say, give me my cut. So I don't care about them. What? That's why we here, man.
Mm-hmm.
And, I like the fact that makes this relevant right now. For us to do what we're doing right now is the fact that there is a game changer at play now that has never been at play before.
No.
And that is this.
Yeah.
You can't just shoot me 15 times in the back and write a report saying you was in danger of your life. That's why you had to put 15 bullets in my back to save your life and then push a gun up under me. Why? Because these kids got everybody on candid camera.
I just saw one today where I came from of a camera from a smartphone of a white cop punching a white lady in the face. He's gone. He's gone.
You don't have to punch him in the face.
It ain't no Photoshop on that. Ain't no special animation. That was on a phone and it was sent straight. And I'm sure she sent one here, she sent one there, she sent one there, she sent one there. You're not going to get away with it anymore. And they're not going to outlaw phones. Because if they start something like that, where you can't use your phone in public and all that, you know what that means. But they will burn this country to the ground.
Now, we see that. Now, look. If it's one thing that has been made evident by the, I call miraculous feat that Obama did, not just once.
But twice.
I mean, it's incredible. But if there's one thing it has done, which our people has always done, has been exposed. Dr. King said it. We are the conscience of America.
Okay.
And so, if it's one thing that Obama has taught us, the white man's position is.
Yes.
Before we let another nigga in here, or let this nigga's legacy go down in history as being great, we'll burn this whole Nicky Vicky up. Before we let a black man get that kind of credit. We don't care, man. Our hate is too big for that. We are not going to let that ever happen again. Man, these kids, look, no matter what Obama, I heard somebody say on the news just yesterday, man, talked about, Obama has to face the fact that he made America what it was.
I see.
They blamed him for
I know, and that plays right into the hands of the people that are running things because they see how ignorant you are.
Yeah.
It is unfortunate that these people who are talking about Trump and Obama and Bush and all the rest of them. It is unfortunate that they don't realize that one man cannot do all of the things they are blamed for because the House, the Senate, and the Congress won't let them.
And we both know that, and they know that.
Now, so they are all in collusion, and the man at the top is the scapegoat. He's the sacrifice. He's the figurehead. And Obama played his cards right because he kept his life.
I don't know. Look, I don't know what. I don't think any of us can talk on what Obama did, is doing, or has done, or going to do, because what that man, he did the impossible. They ain't nobody figured out yet.
It's impossible that he lived.
And then second time around, because really I thought after the first time,
that was nice.
Again,
yeah.
Not only did he do it, but he did it in record time before they could play. They are this nigga president again. What did he do, Doug? I don't know what he did.
But I don't know what it was, but I know that it probably is not what it looked like to us. It's probably not what it looked like to us.
It didn't look like nothing to me because I didn't know what to look for.
Because
I'm that ignorant.
because you know it had to be because of the condition of the rest of what else is going on and what we know about what's happening. That may have just been something that was constructed to occur, and it just happened to fall into place. It's not like we campaigned for 4 years before 2008 and tried to get a black candidate going. We did not field Barack Obama.
Well,
Barack Obama appeared.
Even if it just fell in place, he had to have the wisdom and understand what was falling in place and manipulate it and take advantage of it to attain what he attained.
I can't take away from him any credit for not having done something, groundwork or something. But it was really it was an unworldly, otherworldly kind of experience to watch this take place. I remember how weird, how strange it was. But you know what hurt my feelings? As wonderful as the black presidency was, by the time we got a black man in place, much of the black heritage and structure had fallen. By the time we got a black president in place, young black people were walking around with their pants hanging halfway down their ass, calling school-age girls bitches and hoes, and cussing and profanity, talking about what they gonna do to the cops and all this stuff in what they call hip-hop rap thing. And it's like our people had gone into the jungle looking for something to do. It's a wild world, man. And some of the things that we are seeing that people are doing, you can't even communicate. That's one of the things that bothers me. You can't communicate with people. You can't communicate with the people to get them to understand stuff, because if you tell them about themselves, they'll resent it. If you come alongside of them, they're self-conscious and contemptuous. And if you preach or pontificate, they will not yield and learn. But they're yielding and learning all the time, but not the right stuff. And if you try to show somebody something about this, they'll resent you.
Yeah. Well.
And aside from talking about these issues, there has got to be some kind of leadership and some kind of guideline that we can communicate to our people to get them to turn around and to understand how to change. It's not all religion. There is psychology and there is intellect in there. And people don't like to be called stupid, and they need to stop acting like they're stupid.
Well, there's a difference between ignorance and stupidity. Most of this is from a profound ignorance, a lack of knowledge, and then false knowledge, and that's what's so crazy. I think that what I like so beautifully about at least our exchange is that there has to be an understanding that man's knowledge is different than God's knowledge, and vice versa. Man is proving and disproving his knowledge every day.
I'm telling you.
But God's never changes. It just gets more profound and more sanctified, sanctioned.
It's amazing.
Over time. But but here's how man gets so caught up on himself. Here's what I heard. Here's what I heard a man say. And I'll tell you what I heard say it. What's the guy that the profound, prolific preacher that has a photographic memory and always talks about prophecy in the Bible and everything? Him and his wife is on TV.
Jack Van Impe?
Van Impe. Now here's what he said. He said that now, in the year 2016, now technology has come to the point where he was using this to verify the fact that we're in the last days. He said now technology now exists where Jesus can be seen everywhere all the time. Now I'm like, wait a minute.
I know what he's talking about.
No, he's talking about technology, but look.
No, but I know what he's referring to.
No, but this is what I'm referring to. Do he think God needed anything for man to be able to do that?
Of course not.
Come on.
Of course not. But what Jack Van Impe was trying to say at that point was that to his mind, that is the only way that the Bible verse could be true that says every eye shall see him. But here's the problem with that. It's not going to be technology that shows every eye shall see him.
It can't be.
You know why? Because at that devastating moment, guess what? The power is going to be out. The power is going to be out when God comes back because everything's going to be messed up.
He giving himself too much threat that he think God need him to be God. Come on, that's so backwards, man. Well,
he wasn't talking about himself. He was talking about technology.
That's him. That is himself. That's who man is. That's giving himself, mankind,
I see
the power that God got to depend on him to be God.
God does not have to have a DSLR or a digital camera or a television camera or a phone to make himself appear to every eye. But in man's thinking, that's the only way it could be done because back in the ancient times, how could God have been seen by every eye? You see what I'm saying? But they don't understand. God can refract light and convex photons do whatever he has to do. I'm being funny for a reason.
Saying, of course.
In order, or he can put himself in your mind. It don't have to be optical. It could be psychic.
I think.
You know,
so it's so moronic. For any man to think that God's depending on him to be God.
In other words, depending on man's ability. I get you.
Like
but it could also
technology to do what he say he's gonna do way back in the beginning before he set the foundation.
Right, but it could also be
that man created the galaxy.
It could also be coincidentally, true that technology may have something to do with it. But the problem I have with it is when the bombs have fallen and all that destruction and Jesus come back, ain't gonna be no power to run those technology. So Jack Van Impe's assertion is true in a way, but may not be operative at that moment that he's talking about.
True in no damn way.
Well, all right. I'm not arguing. You and I are not arguing because we're trying to. I understand. Yeah. But here's what, and I have to say this about Jack Van Impe and Rexella and Rexella Van Impe.
Right.
I used to listen to him because he was so excited and he was talking about how things were going. And Rexella always had that smile and she had that. She was all done up and everything. I stopped listening to Jack Van Impe when I watched an episode of television of his show where he said that Martin Luther King's only aim was to damage his people.
Is that what he said?
Yes, sir.
Man.
That was the last time I ever watched Jack Van Impe, and I'm not subject to those kind of emotional, outbursts and that kind of psychological rejection. I don't do that.
Right.
But in this case, I could not accept that.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't accept it. Yes. I don't care how many ties he had to the Communist Party. I don't care how much money he accepted from China or whatever it is that they're saying that he did wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care about that.
Right.
Because what he did accomplish or what was accomplished in his name is still with us today. So who cares if Martin Luther King's aim was to damage his people?
Mm-hmm.
He didn't succeed. Instead, he helped his people. Didn't he?
Elevator. Like,
Didn't he help his people?
Not just his people, but all people. Yeah, right. Exactly.
Didn't he call on the Constitution and the Bible while he was doing what he was doing?
Obviously, you asked me a rhetorical question.
Yes, it's a rhetorical question.
Oh, okay, right. Okay.
Right, okay. So, why Jack Van Impe would say that, I don't know, but I know that I am not a fan of Jack and Rex Sullivan Impe.
Oh,
you can forget that. But guess what? I'm not going to be in an argument with nobody about Jack and Rex Sullivan Impe. You know why?
I don't argue with nobody about nothing.
Because the lens of that camera and the mouth of this microphone has just informed whoever's watching this. I know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
How many people know his wife's first name that don't know nothing about him?
Mm-hmm.
See what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
So there's a way to verify, to clarify, and that's what I want to do with you.
I mean, just to watch somebody with a photographic memory and being able just to quote the whole Bible is amazing in of itself. Don't get me wrong, but when man gets so caught up in his own persona that he think God need him to be God, now you go backwards. It's crazy.
What is so unfortunate is that people who have fantastic gifts and abilities usually have fantastic problems with pride and ego.
Well,
and they just seem to go hand in hand apart from God.
The people with the brightest light has the darkest night.
This is and it doesn't have to be that way. It would be wonderful if you could hook all that stuff up to God. Ooh.
Well, Lord. That's the only way it can be unless it is hooked up to God. Because we have no control over being able to save ourselves from ourselves.
That's right. This person, I'll take Luther Vandross as an example because he's already dead. If Luther Vandross in the middle of his career had a stroke, that would have been the end of it. And he wouldn't have been, the big star. Look what happened to Richard Pryor. He got sick, right? And he was still, fairly well up there. But he got sick, and that was the end of it. We don't even control our own bodies and our own gifts. We can't keep our own brains if something's wrong. But my question is, after all these centuries and all this history and all this science, we still don't get it, Tommy? You were talking about how, through all this time, man has proven and disproven his, so-called stuff, but the God stuff ain't changed.
Yeah.
The gospel, 5,000 years, however long the scriptures is, the gospel, particularly the second, I almost said the Second Amendment, the New Testament, the New Testament hasn't lost anything in 5,000 years, or in 2,000 years.
Yeah.
It's called a living word. A lot of man's stuff has gone all down the drain. But the gospel hasn't lost anything in 2,000 years.
It just gets more proof.
You continue to see stuff verifying what the gospel said. When the gospel said this is going to be this way, and there it is.
Confirmation comes.
Oh, and by the way, when you talk about Van Impe verifying that these are the last days, we knew it was. My grandmother died in 1971. But in 1945, she knew it was the last days when she saw that atomic bomb. That's all we needed. We didn't even need the rest of it.
Yeah.
But at that time, it still wasn't possible, the kind of things we see today, to take place because the inventions weren't there. But guess what? God gave us a warning in the form of, guess what? Nazi Germany. God gave us a warning in the form of Nazi Germany. A lot of stuff that was going on in Nazi Germany, that whole context was all about technology and new inventions and advanced stuff. They had advanced airplanes and they had advanced stuff, and they had this regimentation, and your identification, and that whole model is the model of the world of the Antichrist. Almost verbatim. We were given the warning. World War II was the warning that we were in the last days. I think World War II was the opening act of the last days. What do you think?
Well, I mean, you know what? I don't give that much thought to it. I mean, I believe we're in the last days. I don't know what we've been forewarned for so long.
It was prophesied.
Yeah, but so
Daniel, Ezekiel.
That's true. I don't know. Yeah, all over the place. But yeah, man, I just revel in the knowledge of it.
Yeah, I mean, it is incredible that it's all true.
Yeah.
I mean, not the way we've been taught it, but it's all true. There is a God. There is a justice. There is a standard of righteousness. There is all those things. They actually do exist. As kids, we wondered. And we said to ourselves, "Gee, what if it's true? Boy, it would really be something if really is a God, wouldn't there? Wouldn't it be true?" Now we see they had the atomic bomb. Then what did they do? They went to the moon. Then what did they do? They invented the computer. Then what did they do? Well, actually, they released it to the public. They had computers even when they went to the moon. I think the computer on the limb had a capacity of 200 megabytes. I'm not exactly sure what it was, but 200 megabytes is like 20 minutes of audio or something. But anyway, or 2 hours of audio. I'm not sure. But anyway, we are living in even if the argument is not about the last days, we are living in days that are really showing us some incredible things. And you know what the latest incredible thing is? Donald Trump being elected president. Good night, everybody.
I don't know why people think that, look, if we know things are going to get worse and we know that they are, they finally got a fool that put his hand on the button.
They finally got a fool with his hand. Oh, my Lord, man. Oh, man. Do you really think a fool could become a billionaire?